Guys, have a good one. Thanks.
All right, Dylan, buddy, how you doing?
Good, Chris. How are you?
Good. Sorry about the complications to get you on here.
Yeah, I tried with computers. I'm actually doing it through my phone.
Excellent. No, I was wondering. Through the app. Excellent. So it's working fine on your phone. And now, Dylan, you do a podcast called Your Creativity. Is that correct?
That is correct. I've been doing it just pretty close to a year now. And it started from a blog, interviewing creative people. I interviewed on the blog Paul Draper. He's a mentalist, and actress Marilyn Gigliotti. She was in Clerks. And then at that time, I was part of a podcast, and it kind of fell apart. And then, Sasha at Earhole at the time gave me the opportunity to, start playing around with Your Creativity.
Now, are you still doing Your Creativity under the Utah Podcast Network then, or no?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I thought you were.
Yep. I'm still there. We're still building it and having a great time.
Yeah. No, Sasha's got a great thing going on there with the podcast network, which you've done like all the web design for that and all that, correct?
All the show art, I think, with the exception of jocularity, I think everything else. Yeah, I've done the logo design for each podcast, and the web design, just keeping that thing up and running.
Dylan, I'm going to have you share with people that are watching right now, both live and on the replay. But what got you even interested in podcasting? Like, how did that happen? Like, did you just discover podcasts one day, or was it somebody you knew, or share with us how you found podcasts?
The TV show Lost. I watched it, and then I started looking for fan type stuff, and I came across Cliff Ravenscraft. So off and on since then, I've just been following him, and I tried a few podcasts on my own. I did one episode of Travelcast, and I was going to interview a person from each state about the great things about their state, but I only did Hawaii, but the episode's out there and it was pretty good. And, I kept on trying, and it just didn't fail until, it just kind of failed in my own mind until, I got to Your Creativity, and it's been flourishing, and it's been a great journey. And
how many episodes of Your Creativity have you done now? I posted like 26 or something, right?
25. Salt Lake Comic Con was episode 25.
Okay.
But I've got 2 in the can and 1 scheduled for Wednesday, so I'll be approaching 30 very quickly.
And you do 1 episode a week, is that correct?
It's every other Tuesday we put out an episode. This past week was 2 because of Comic-Con, but it's every other week.
Do you have like a dream person that you would like to interview? Like somebody that you would love to bring on your show?
Kevin Smith.
So he's a good one to have on there.
Yeah. It might never end the way he talks.
I actually got to meet Kevin Smith at Podcast Movement a couple of years ago when my wife and I went out to Chicago, and Kevin Smith was out there. He did some keynote speaking, so that was a really cool opportunity. He is kind of the god of podcasting to a degree, in some people's eyes.
Him and Rogan, and I've met both of them. Joe Rogan just wants Kevin Smith, just about every time he comes through Wise Guys in January when he's out here for Sundance. But yeah, he's a nice guy. It's just, I don't, some connections I don't want to ruin by asking him. So it's just kind of like, it's that dream out there.
What would you tell people that are watching right now, like advice, if they want to do a podcast? What would you tell them?
Make sure it's something you're passionate about. How, for me, creativity, figuring out what artists are passionate about and what they love about what they're doing. Just, and watching them, light up when they're talking about what they're doing. So that, find something you're passionate about, or something you like, seeing in other people that they're passionate about.
What would you tell them as far as like, I talk with a lot of people that they feel they need to spend, thousands of dollars on all this amazing equipment. They need to have like a radio studio to record their podcast in. Do you think that's true? Do you think people need to go out and spend thousands of dollars?
I don't think so. Ultimately, I would love to have a home studio. I don't think it's in the cards for in the near future. But I've got a digital recorder, and I'm loaning mics from Sasha a lot of the time right now, to do these remote interviews. But no, you don't. Depending on what how big your show is, if it's just the two of you, you can get a cheap recorder and and do it from there. So you can even do it in your phone if you want to start that low at first.
Yeah. Hang tight 1 second, Dylan. Glenn, if you're still watching, buddy, hang tight out there. Feel free to come back. I still would love to chat with you, buddy, and have you on here. So don't run too far. Glen Higby from CBK Land Radio. He might end today's broadcast out with International Podcast Day, which is my favorite holiday. And if most podcasters, I think, would agree that it's a pretty good day to kind of recognize podcasts. Leave reviews on shows like Your Creativity, I Am Salt Lake podcast, Mom and the New Dad, Izzy Rock's Gem City podcast, Tales from the Hard Side, Dog and Deuce Show, Talk Music to Me. I mean, so many podcasts out there about really every subject. Anybody who's got a hobby or an interest is going to find a podcast that they like or enjoy. Dylan, share for people that might just be tuning in, again, Your Creativity is just kind of what's the main theme of your show?
Just talking to creatives. We've had comedians on, we've had filmmakers, we talked to a drag queen, we've gone axe throwing up in Ogden. So just creative places or creative people, just finding out what makes them tick and why they love what they do.
And you do this with you have co-hosts, right, that you do the podcast with?
I have one co-host now. We did have Andrea Peterson for a while, but she's with Salt Lake Magazine now, so she's, she got too busy to help us out. But it's me and Steve Hatch from Match Family Chocolates. Which
go try some of their chocolates. They have really, really, really good chocolate up there.
Yeah. And ice cream and hot cocoa.
Oh,
and
yeah. They're up. What is that? About 8th Avenue, I believe, or something like that, up in the avenues.
Right, they're directly east of LDS Hospital.
Yeah. Anything else you want to mention, Dylan? Before I try to get Glenn in here, anything you want to mention, George? What's your website for your podcast?
It's the podcast is on Utah Podcast Network. And If you look across the top, you'll see all the shows. I'm at the second to the last on the right, Your Creativity. Just click there and it'll show all the episodes.
Right on. That's UtahPodcastNetwork.com, I believe, is their website. Yep. Excellent. Yeah, and there's all kinds of good shows on there to check out if you want a ton of podcasts to check out. But Your Creativity is one that go check it out. Download an episode or two today, tomorrow. Subscribe.
If I can just talk about my last couple episodes that went up last week. We talked with Kerry Jackson, who's a radio legend around town. So that was great. Talking with him and his basement and they're like and everything. And so that was a fun one. And then at Salt Lake Comic-Con, I sat down with actor Keith Coogan, who is in Adventures in Babysitting and Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead. So we talked about, being on the set and everything. And for a few minutes, who was Jackie Coogan, who was Uncle Fester in the Addams Family TV show, as well as the kid in Charlie Chaplin's The Kid. So, those were interesting conversations. And then we talked with Larry Nemechek, who's
All right. Not sure what happened there. Lost internet connection or something on my end. Sorry about that, Dylan. Glenn, let's see. I guess I got Glen Higby still hanging out here. Go check out his podcast. Sorry again. My apologies. Not sure what happened. Gotta love the internet for this one, right? Let's see here. Let's bring Glen Higby up here. Glenn, you there, buddy? Hello?
I don't know. Can you hear me now?
I believe so, sort of. I apologize. I'm not sure what happened to me earlier. If the internet just
weird.
Yeah, all of a sudden I just disappeared, huh?
Yeah, I was like, and I just saw his face, and then he went away, and then I went away. I'm like, what the heck is going on?
Yeah, maybe there was a glitch with the computer or the BeLive.tv app. I'm not sure what happened there. Dylan, I see you're back in there, buddy. Let's see. Let's actually see if I can bring him up here really quick. Dylan, buddy. Sorry, I don't know what happened, man. I don't know what. I guess the live stream just kept going still or something. I'm not sure what.
Yeah, I was there by myself talking to myself. Then I realized and then disappeared. I turned myself off.
Okay. I apologize. I'm not really sure what happened with that, but we're all back and we're all on here now. Thank you, everybody who's watching this. We're just going to get the day wrapped up here with Dylan and Glen Higby here. Dylan, you were sharing with us kind of about your last couple podcast episodes with Kerry Jackson and at Comic-Con and whatnot.
Yeah, at Comic-Con, actor Keith Coogan, who was in movies from the 80s, Adventures in Babysitting and Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead. And then we also talked about, for a minute, his grandfather, Jackie Coogan, who was Uncle Fester from the Addams Family TV series. And he was also the kid from, that was a fun conversation. And then I chatted with author Larry Nemechek, who's a big Star Trek author. So that was, those were interesting conversations. And that's what I love, is just, chatting with these people that you probably wouldn't be able to otherwise.
Have you had the opportunity to chat with somebody, Dylan? Dylan, have you had a chance to chat with somebody you never in a million years would have thought you would have had a chance to talk with?
On the podcast?
Yeah.
Not off the top of my head, not really. You know, like we said earlier, Kevin Smith would be that. Because,
yeah.
It's, I can't believe kind of thing. So yeah, only him, if I was able to get him on, would be the one to be like, I can't believe this.
Awesome. And share with the people watching right now, and then I'm going to chat with Glenn here for a few minutes, but share with the people watching how they can, again, find your shows. I know we mentioned it, but mention it again.
Just social-wise, it's Your Creativity. And creativity, instead of the A, it's an 8. I wanted to make it kind of unique. And yeah, it's right there. Yeah, I started as a blog with 8 questions. So that's why the 8 was in there, and I just kind of left it once it switched over.
Awesome.
But yeah, across social. And I wanted, I was inspired by my brother's blog, Always Funny in Salt Lake. That was kind of a jumping on point of, subject wise, and just talk. You were an influence as well. And then Creative Mornings, which is a monthly event I go to, kind of brought in the creative part.
Right on. What, anything you want to mention in the future that you want to mention about the podcast? Any upcoming interviews that people should keep an eye out for, or is it all kind of top secret right now?
This coming up Wednesday, we're going up to Centerville, I think is where they're at. It's Goat Yoga, Utah, where you do yoga, which will be fun for me since I'm so out of shape. And there's goat crawling around on you or near you.
You're cutting out on me a little bit there, Dylan. But so yeah, you're going to go.
I'm sorry.
Oh no, you're fine. You're fine. So Go Yoga Utah. Awesome. I will tell everybody to check your podcast out. I'm going to let you go here and chat with Glenn here for a minute. Thank you so much, Dylan, for coming on and taking part of this International Podcast Day broadcast that we're doing here on I Am Salt Lake podcast on Facebook. And anything you want to leave?
Thanks, Chris, for having me.
Oh, you bet, buddy. You bet. Anything you want to leave with the people watching? Any words of wisdom? Any pieces of advice? Anything? I don't know. Anything you want to say?
Don't stress out about it. You know, it's going to start off as a hobby, you know, for most people, and eventually it might turn into something, you know, but don't stress out, you know. Don't make it be a chore. Don't make it be something you hate, you know.
Awesome. Well, thank you so. Yeah, you cut out there a little bit at the end. Thank you so much, Dylan. You have a good afternoon. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, buddy. Not getting any.